Welcome back. This is segment 2 of a wonderful conversation with Be Your Own Superhero with Jeanne, and your author's name is Jeanne Marie?
Jeanne Marie.
Jeanne Marie.
It's my given name.
Fair enough. And again, we're in marketing, so we do shameless plugs. It's on Amazon?
It is on Amazon, and actually, O Malley. We made bestseller in 3 categories on Amazon already.
Oh, congratulations.
Top new release in women in business,
right?
Career advancement, and professional development.
Well, that's a tribute to your book, and more importantly, you saw a need and you went out and you got it. So you used the word empowerment, correct?
A lot.
A lot. Okay. What else is this book about?
So the book has 3 sections. Overall, the book's theme is for women who are feeling like they need something else to get over that fear. They need to be able to be bold. They need to walk in their path, whatever it is, with confidence. So the book overall provides a sense of, when I say empowerment, it provides a sense of that inspiration, empowerment. And it's written as if I were their friend.
Right.
Or big sister.
Okay? Or a coach.
Or coach. And that is what a lot of feedback I'm getting from the readers, from the target, really love that. They love how the tone is that way. So the book is in 3 sections to approach this life launch thing. Get good, get girls, get going. And then the bonus is get the gig.
You know, when I read the book, obviously I'm not the target audience. However, I reflected on my own life, okay? I grew up in a traditional Irish Catholic family, and I can honestly say we weren't entrepreneurial at all. We were talking to get the civil service job, but there was a yearning in me that wanted to try something different. So I came to New York and I said, I don't want to be a civil servant. I want to try business, but I didn't know anything about it. And yet, over the course of time, I realized that I was taught how to get over the fear of numbers and money, and all of a sudden, the ability, I knew I could always talk, but I didn't know that was called selling.
We're always selling, right?
Well, that's the point. And over the course of time, when I hit 50, I'm a little older than that now, I became more entrepreneurial. But don't wait until you're 50 is what you're saying to people.
No, I'm saying you have it in you, okay? And in the first chapter, we talk about this. And this is actually inspired from a movie called Sucker Punch. And there's a scene where the woman who's the mentor or the dance teacher is saying to the student, you have all the weapons you need, now fight. So you have what you need. You just have to figure out what it is, how to talk about it, how to articulate it, and then get a group of people around you that can support you and mentor you, right? I mean, it's similar to when I met you, right? I knew I wanted to teach. I had this thing, this thing that was just like, I have to do this. I like, my mission and my purpose is to like help the next generation. And then there I was, a teacher, and I was like, "Oh my God, what did I just do?"
Right. I remember the first time you came up to me in the meeting, and it's like, "You're going to help me," and I was like, "Who are you?" And sure. But the key is that, and I think I want to keep going over it. You are going to be afraid because being an entrepreneur or being starting something is always fraught with a whole bunch of obstacles and challenges, and you always have the demon of doubt that sits on your shoulder. You're not good enough. You're not good enough. You're not good enough. You can't do this. You're going to fail. And most times I realize once you get beyond that, you figure it out. If you're the right personality, I mean, you got to have it. But you also have to believe, as long as you keep moving forward, it works. And that's what, again, chapter 1, chapter 2, that you go in there, that you're going to be afraid. That's natural and that's okay. But learn to surround yourself with like-minded people who can help you but challenge you.
Exactly. So there's a whole section about mentorship.
Right.
So section 2 is Get Girls. So that's about building your network. And we all know your network is your net worth.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
We all
totally.
know that. Yes. And they tell us that and you're like, okay, whatever, but it's really true in so many aspects of your life.
True.
So yes, in one chapter in Get Girls section, it's called Mentoring is in the Moment. And actually, I had a boss when I first started out in fashion, and she was one of the most amazing bosses. She listened. She wanted to really help me grow and learn and everything. And I'll never forget her for that, because there's a lot of Devil Wears Prada in fashion.
That's why we knew each other.
That's it. And now they're coming out with the second one.
They sure are.
There is a lot to talk about, right? So she was an amazing boss. And I interviewed her many years later on a podcast that I had. And she was talking about mentoring. And her quote is, her name's Judy Langley, Ode to Jude. She says, mentoring is in the moment. It does not matter if someone's older, younger, whatever. The idea is that when you're in the moment, you could always be learning something from someone if you're paying attention. And if it's, if there's a message to be heard, you can hear it. And it doesn't matter about like age or any perspective or framework that you may have heard in the past. So mentors are super important in all parts of your life. But this thing about fear, I want to go back to that for a second, if that's okay.
Sure, please do.
It's about being bold. It's about knowing who you are. Once you know who you are and you can really articulate and understand what makes you tick, then you can grab onto that, and that's what gives you confidence.
And I will admit, when I first started in business, I just wanted to be, quote, an executive. I had no idea what that even meant.
That's not a bad thing, though.
I know, but I wanted to wear a suit in New York and be all part of that, and I did. And then
That was the 80s when we wore suits.
Absolutely. We're dating each other here. But that's what I wanted to be part of. And once I became part of it, I said, well, what's the next thing? And I used to look at people who were more successful. And I started off at Macy's and Barney's. And then I had a wonderful career at Saks Fifth Avenue and my own store. As I looked at people who were 3-4 years older than me, and I was wondering why they were so much more advanced than I was. And it wasn't because of the education. I mean, we were all learning Microsoft Excel. It first came out. Nobody knew it. It was that they took the chance to learn something different and created value. And I remember sitting there thinking, okay, I was successful at what I was doing. I was great in operations, but it was on the, how should I say it, the cost side. I realized early on, I want to get on the revenue side because that's where the real money is.
Right, exactly.
And that's when I overcame the fear of being able to say, well, why can't I go on the revenue side? Because it's generating revenue. And that's what you learn as you go along into this thing, that you overcome, like you said, the internal thing that holds us back. And really what it was something said, you're just an Irish kid. You can never be that. And the answer was, well, when I saw a bunch of people who were, I'm like, why can't I be? And that's when I began to have the change of mindset, which is what you addressed very early on in this. And I think that's how, and I saw it with my own sisters. They were good women, okay, until my one sister said, I really want to be a CPA. And she went and got it. And it was like,
good for her.
Exactly. And my father would be like, okay, and he didn't even know what a CPA was. But he encouraged her and encouraged my other sister, encouraged me. And that's really what the whole other thing was, is that if you sometimes you go down the road of you don't know where you're going, but look what happens when you get there. I mean, it's not the Wizard of Oz.
Actually, I talk about that in here.
I know that. That's why I threw it in. Now, I want to get back to you. What's this superhero thing, and why do you use it as a theme?
Okay, so I think I mentioned earlier that I started a movement or a company called Supergirls.
Yes.
2 L, second L for love.
Yep.
Okay, and also we can't get in trouble with Marvel. But it's about, again, it's about being your own hero. That's where the title comes from.
Right.
Being a superhero in your own life. Supergirl. So actually, Supergirl, the name, the first time it came out, came from my husband. My Irish husband, Jim, who thought I was Supergirl. He would call me that because he would see how much I would get accomplished in a day compared to him. Men and women, that's just how we roll. And he called me Supergirl.
Right.
And I was like, I like that. That is cool. When I have something to do, I put my mind to it, it gets done. Right? No matter what else I have to do. Motherhood, working, school, whatever. And so I was like, I want to call the company, I want to call this that, because first of all, it really has a specific emotional meaning for me,
yes.
To me, Supergirl. And I think it really means something to a lot of people, being a superhero. What are your superpowers? I mean, you hear that a lot all over the place. It's not original, but that actually is part of the book. What are your strengths? What are the things that are going to drive you? What are you good at? What do you really care about? Because that is what's going to really propel you forward.
And again, we both teach, so I feel comfortable going back and forth. I do an exercise in class called Write Your Own Superhero. And, I don't care whether they fly or it doesn't matter, okay? But what's really interesting, it doesn't matter. I don't care what the power is. But what it really does is make students sit down and write who they are and how they want the world to be. Okay. But the key is they reveal to themselves how they see themselves in this world. And then you begin to realize once they get past the trying to name it and everything else, that it really does awaken in them the fact, like a couple of students always say, I never knew I even had this in me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you sat down, you thought about it, and you wrote it. So
that's part of the deal.
Yeah.
Actually, because this book is written like a workbook, and it is a workbook. It's a graphic novel.
Right.
There are templates, there are worksheets, there are prompts, there are writing prompts, all kinds of, you write stories. There's one section where you write, I call it the Big Five, and you actually reflect on 5 things in your life that you can tell stories about that made an impact.
Yeah.
It could just be a family vacation that you had that you took with your family and something really, that you remember. And then tying those things all together to kind of do what you were just saying, right? Understand what is it? Like they don't take the time. Our world moves fast today.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't come naturally.
Right. And one of the things is you talk about, you do it as a coach, right? And one of the things that I think as a coach is you ask people, think about a failure you've had in life. We can all talk about the successes, okay, right? We all have successes, or we wouldn't be here. What about the failures, and what did you learn from your failure? And I have to admit, there's been a few times I got fired from a job.
Me too.
I always say to students, don't be afraid to get fired.
About it. Get it over with.
Get it over
done.
with. Yeah, it happens, okay? But more importantly, what did you learn from it? Okay? And then you begin, and that's the lesson you'll remember all the rest of the time. And one of the things that I remember was my boss couldn't look me in the eye. And it couldn't look me in the eye and tell me that it was ending. That's what I remember. He didn't have the guts to look me in the eye. Subsequently, in all my career, and I had a couple jobs where I did hiring, and then I had to do, unfortunately, firing. I made sure I always looked at the person to say to them why you're getting terminated, because at that point, I wanted them to know that they're human.
They're people.
They're people too.
They're regular people.
But that's what's being a good coach, and that's what you begin to realize is what you also have talked about in here, is you remember the lessons of the stumbling. And when you reflect on that, you reflect on the fact that now you can face, again, we go back to fear, because you're afraid of failing. Well, what happens? Unless you lie, cheat, steal, and doing time in jail, which is another question.
And luckily, that's not in the book.
That's not in the book. But even then, all right, overcome that ability that says you're not good enough, that doubt, that self-doubt that just erodes. And,
if you're lucky enough in your life to have people to help you recognize that if it is there, that's why the mentors and the bonding and the people that you create this network of people around you in the support system. If you can't do it for yourself, hopefully, one of those people will do it for you. But if I didn't have a lot of mistakes in my life or failures, that book wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be sitting here.
Your husband wouldn't be calling you Supergirl.
Wouldn't be calling me Supergirl.
All right, we're going to hold off on Supergirl and go to segment 3 because I want to hear a little more about chapters 4, 5, 6, 10, and 11. We'll come back.